Broadcasting live from the Loading Ready Run orbiting underground moon base, it's the LRRcast. It's the 2014 closing out the year special edition of talking about things we enjoyed. This is part 2. You will have already seen an episode, or heard an episode, with James and Paul and Cam talking about the things that they liked in 2014.
And all that stuff's poo.
Yeah, everything they liked is garbage. I'm kidding. But now it is myself and Kathleen and Alex, and it is we who will talk about the things that we enjoyed in 2014.
I enjoyed a thing once.
I have a list of topics that I will talk about, which I feel has very little crossover with the other two people in this podcast.
That is almost entirely likely.
Well, I mean, you can see my list, my notes.
I like one of those things.
Yay!
I recognize a few of those things.
Anyhow.
No, I like 2 of those things.
Oh, well, I can't wait to hear what the things that you like.
One of those things is really based.
I'll talk about that later.
That's not one of the things. Yeah, so James explained this last episode, but we're not doing like a top X list. We're not talking about stuff that was poopy. We're talking about this is stuff that happened in 2014 that we liked that we think you should check out.
Our favorites.
And also some stuff that we enjoyed from our work. Should we talk about the Loading Ready Run stuff first?
Yeah, let's get that out of the way.
All right. Because we don't want to spend too long talking about.
No, apparently, like the other podcast went into like quite a bit of detail about us.
He's like, I think we talked about ourselves too much. And I'm like, well, all right.
Well, how about we each pick one thing?
All right.
And then we'll go on. Graham, do you have something?
Yeah.
Go for it.
I was really pleased with I know they talked about this one of the other podcasts, with the sketch Doctors Hate Her. I was very pleased.
It's so good.
Just a really silly idea.
Oh, man.
That I just
Shot
wanted
beautifully.
to follow. Yeah, I just wanted to follow well, thank you. I wanted to follow like Doctors Hate Her. What, so? What does that mean? I mean, first of all, you're making it up because you're a commercial and you're a banner ad.
Stuff.
But what does that mean? Doctors hate her. What does that do? How does that manifest in real life?
Because she's robbing them of their profession because you found a secret life hack.
Yeah, but what does them hating her mean? It's like they just give her the side eye. They still have to help her. They're just going to give her the side eye at the emergency room, being like, that bitch. Get in here so I can heal you, right? Anyway, I was just really pleased with how that turned out.
Missy's so great in like everything we put her in. The whole thing. There's so many great little bits, like Cam disappearing in a cloud of scripts.
Oh, yes. Wait, quickly. Do you want to talk about how you did that special effect, actually?
Yeah, you can see it, I think.
There's a loading time. But if you haven't seen the loading time.
Yeah, on set, Cam just went, whoop-bah, and threw his hand down, and then we cut to a shot where he wasn't there and did like a little flash transition. And then back here on the green screen, we stuffed a bunch of prescription forms, which was just old bits of... No, we didn't. It's just old bits of script.
Yeah.
We stuffed a whole bunch of them into the leaf blower. And pointed it straight up in front of the green screen and it went boom.
Did we buy the leaf blower this year?
I guess so.
I think we might have. I don't know. That was a good prop.
I think we got it last year.
It's one of our best props, I think.
Yeah. I also wanted to, speaking of, because you were saying Missy's so great. I also really, really enjoyed the pair. I thought that Kathleen's script is so good. It's really good. It's like. It's not something that any of the rest of the writers would ever have thought of. Is one of the reasons I like it. Like, it surprised me with how different it was from our other videos, and all 3 people in it just killed it acting wise. Like, you were great, Missy was great, Monty was great, and it was.
It was also like a really turbo little shoot.
Yeah, because we were like, let's get into that laundry room and shoot this and get out of there. And it was warm.
Yes, everybody was very motivated to go quickly and bring their A game. I was actually going to talk about that video too, and I like it because one, like you said, it's really, really different than other things that we've done. But I really enjoyed writing it and then being in it and then the finished product, because unlike a lot of videos we do, it is a strictly female perspective. The 2 main characters are women. Their problems, the way that they deal with the situation situation is very distinctly those are the way that girls would deal with that situation, not necessarily men or people that could be to either gender. That was a very female approach to it. The male character is only like a sexualized afterthought. We have no, like, what I'm saying is misandry. I really enjoyed doing that. I just think it's different for us, right?
Yeah.
To do kind of a lady video.
It was also one of those like great little like slice of life things. It's like, you can actually see most of this situation actually happening like verbatim.
Well, it was inspired by a true story.
Room.
I went into that laundry room and there was like, unfortunately, I felt like I should have taken them at the time for prop purposes, but they were somebody else's underwear and they were clean. But they were the
How
underwear.
Did you figure that out, Kathleen?
Because they looked clean. Yeah. They looked like they'd fallen on the floor. Like the underwear I bought as the prop, I got the loudest, most ridiculous underpants I could, and they did not do the originals that inspired the video justice, because the originals were a pair of like heavily branded Calvin Klein tidy whiteys, except they weren't white. They were multicolor paisley print. They were insane.
Wow.
They were definitely lifestyle underpants. And I was looking at those and I'm like, why would you buy these?
To be seen.
Exactly. Because underpants like that are like $35. I would never spend $35 on a single pair of underpants. Right? So anyhow, that inspired the whole thing.
Whelp.
Crap shots.
Oh wow, there's so many of them.
There's so many good ones.
Just like the one with Beej,
and Beej.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like that stinger or the music hit, which was actually just a joke.
Yeah, I was looking at it, and you're like, it needs something, and I was trying to find the like. I was trying to find a previous sound effect we'd used of like a like some sort of like horror tension noise, and I was looking through all the crap shots folder, and I was like, what's this? Oh man, I should put this in, and I threw it in and showed people. I was like, check this out, and
I can't remember. I think it was one of those things that I picked up along the way.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll just like download crap.
So I threw it in there and I played it. I played it for everyone, and we couldn't stop laughing, and we were like, "No, you know what? Fuck it. We're keeping that." And then it became the thing we used later on for the DUI.
Take the glasses off.
It's the surprise dubstep. I also really liked going way back. I really liked the first ride, where we're like so super excited to get into a limo.
Oh yeah.
And then it goes to fucking
That was
Narnia.
long. That was like a big shoot because
so
like you guys
funny.
actually went.
We definitely had to.
Was it Whistler?
Mount Washington.
Mount Washington. We were there for like just a getaway weekend, like a whole bunch of us. And then so we were like, all right, let's just do this. And we ran outside, got Beej, and Beej brought, were those his pan flutes?
I don't know.
Yes, those were his pan flutes.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
Beej is always so game to take off his shirt.
Yeah.
It's nice that someone
It's a good skill.
He's got some good skills.
I also want to give big props to Alex for this. Speaking of the limo, the sound effects in the bus stop one, it just killed me. It's the
air brakes,
the massive air brakes on this limousine,
like the big diesel engine.
It was really good.
Yeah, I mean, it's surprising how much like a couple of little sound effects will really enhance a video. It's like a lot of the background sounds that we did for various things, like the set of 3 end of the world situations.
Yeah, with Kathleen and Cam in the office.
Like that had to have a drone outside of like some horrendous disaster, and it had to be a little bit different each time.
Mm-hmm. I wish the lighting was better in those videos, though.
I think they're okay. I really like the ones like I know that for the fans a lot of the most, and for us a lot of the most beloved crap shots are the ones that are just like us being weird around the moon base or our houses or whatever. Yep. But I really appreciate from a creative standpoint the ones where we are able to put more work and more like set dressing or location or something into such a small stupid thing.
Yep.
Right? Like the first ride where we have, I mean, obviously we had it for other reasons, but like, you know, we had a limousine and then we go to like an actual snowy place and, you know, just for the, I see this is your first time in a limousine.
Yeah,
right?
so
it's
dumb.
like, it's such a dumb joke, but like the ones like that or the ones where, I mean, even recently the ones where you're on the phone, on the gun phone.
Oh my God. That turned out really
well. Because it looks great. right? Like the location looks great, your outfit and the props look great.
It's like what Paul said is that my airsoft rifle is so long that you can do this nice rack focus along the whole length.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, you're in focus and the end of the barrel is not, and it looks sick.
Because it is actually really, really long.
Yeah.
Can I actually talk about very briefly my favorite crap shot for the year before we move on from our stuff?
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's a really simple one, but I howl with laughter every time I see it. It's the one with James and the guitar.
Oh,
this is the man who sold his soul. There's a man who sold his soul to the devil to become the greatest guitar player in the world. And then
so good at the guitar.
So good at the guitar. That man was not the devil. Shit.
Yeah, it's him knocking the guitar down and then just the shit.
I think that may have been his actual reaction.
That was his reaction because he didn't plan to drop it on the ground, and it was
like, he
so
was just
funny.
Gonna, do a shitty. Well, he did. But
like,
he just dropped it way harder than he was expecting.
Yeah. The sound was real. That's the thing that I don't think anyone would believe. That the
splaying.
Sound, yeah, that like the sound of it hitting the ground was real.
I think it may have been that he did not intend to hit it that hard.
Probably.
Exactly.
But because that was a real shit.
It's
always good getting like a little bit of genuine reaction in there.
Oh, I know. I love it. So. Anyhow, that's my favorite crap shot, just for being like a genuinely delightful moment.
I'm gonna briefly my favorite story or coverage or whatever that we did on Checkpoint this year was the absolute bald-facedly insane things that the Activision executive said at that Republican think tank.
Oh yeah,
where he was like, yeah, well, the way that we advertise Battlefield is we just get it into everyone's heads as much as we can. We advertise like really, really aggressively, and then by the time it comes out, you can't help but like it. And I think you could really use tactics like that to similarly brainwash people into liking the government.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen that episode, go check it out.
That's really horrifying.
We even referred to it on a previous episode when it's like, or on a subsequent episode when we're like, yeah, people are really pissed off about these, this resolution change in this thing. Shame no one seems to care that the guy from Activision thinks the government should brainwash you. Anybody? No? Okay.
Yeah. Anyhow, check out that episode.
What was your favorite? I'm going to put you on the spot.
Me?
What was your favorite weird editing joke you did in Feed Dump this year?
Oh, there's so many of them.
I know. I love what you're doing in there.
Yeah, if you haven't seen Feed Dump recently, since after I took over editing from Graham, I spent about 20 episodes doing basically what he was doing and then realized I was getting very bored with it. So I have, people probably have noticed if you've been keeping up with this, been very sort of subtly, but not so subtly, shifting the direction of the show a little bit. It's gotten a lot more surreal.
It's not. You're not shifting the direction at all. You're just
style,
shifting the presentation, which is great.
The TGI Fridays blimp.
Oh yeah,
give her the D.
Yeah, the poorly animated TGI Fridays.
It's so
blimp
great though.
Let's see.
Honestly, I think my favorite clip is just the New Zealand television. Oh, well, we seem to be having one or two technical difficulties here.
Yeah.
Just that. Just very, very simple.
Yeah, whenever anything gets too ridiculous, is just actually just cutting away too technical. I don't know. I do a whole bunch of stuff, and some weeks are better than others for it. Actually, I think definitely the most over-the-top one I did was rocket power bikes, and then it cuts to that stupid "Who can say?" with just pictures of bike accidents, but like broken bikes, not people on broken bikes, for like 15 seconds. Like,
yeah.
and then
a dumb today.
Yeah, like that was dumb.
Rocket smear.
Rocketsmear.
Oh yeah, rocketsmear.com.
Oh wow.
Geez, what else have I done that's really stupid? I liked Evil Alex.
That was really fun.
I want to bring Evil
we should
Alex
probably
back.
bring him back.
Drown in your lies.
People
Just
love
like-
Evil Alex. It's so good.
Really peculiar.
I also, I know that.
Oh, you know what my favorite gag is?
What?
Cam is the animal correspondent, where you
yes.
cut away completely from the feed dump thing. He's on a green screen background.
helmet.
He's wearing a costume.
Yep.
He's sassing me. It almost goes to a Daily Show bit.
Even in episodes where he's not in it.
Yes.
I like
Yes,
that
being
a
able to
lot.
bring in Cam as a surprise.
For just real quick, also for Friday nights, I know the other guys talked about time walking, which I agree is probably the best episode we did this
Yeah,
year.
that one was really good.
But I was also very pleased with the work we did with Darkness, the episode where the power goes out.
Oh, that was really hard to shoot.
Yeah,
it looked really good.
Yeah,
too.
I really enjoyed it.
Which
With
is
all, like, the
which is hard to
cameras
do
and stuff.
with no light
So many candles.
Literal candlelight.
Oh, like it was like, here, get these 6 candles underneath you.
Hazard.
We didn't have Stanley Kubrick's Barry Lyndon lenses.
No.
Sadly. F.5 or something insane. Who knows? What was I going to say? Yeah. So I don't know. There's lots of other stuff that we did. I don't know. Like I'm sure there's favorite stream moments and whatever.
There's so many of them.
F
is good.
Or jam on the gas. Jam on the gas.
Any of the stupid songs we've made up over the years.
Fun.
I liked Alex and I being absolutely sick during Zoo Race when the tiger flies through the glass and just glitches out.
Yeah.
I'm like, every time that happens, I feel like I'm getting closer to death. Like one of these days, I'm actually just gonna suffocate from laughter. I'll be like, you know what? I'm okay with this.
I came very close during Zoo Race.
I was in conniptions.
But I still think, I mean, like I love all the watch and plays, and I still think that they're all great. But it's the moment during Prayer Warriors where you've been laughing your ass off the whole time.
Was a transcendental moment.
Suddenly, the last level loads. If you haven't seen it, I don't want to spoil it. Go watch the replay.
So
the last level loads. You are then frozen. You do not react at all. And Cam, who's been sitting there sort of horrified in existential dread the whole time, just bursts out laughing. But
it's not a good laugh.
He starts laughing, and then he starts sort of almost sobbing.
He starts laughing in the manner of someone who is going insane.
Yeah.
He's just like, like it was an amazing moment. And I'm just sitting there laughing at both of you.
I feel like the Loading Ready Run streams have been pretty good.
Oh, they've been
for hilarious moments.
A lot of fun. Well, it's like we got spaghetti fucked this year, didn't we?
Yeah, we got spaghetti fucked. We got. Oh yeah, there.
Yep. The Hatoful Boyfriend happened. That was.
We need to do another Hatoful Boyfriend stream.
Yeah.
We have
rest
plans.
Of those tracks.
Yeah, but yeah. So streaming, that was good.
That was good.
Do we want to talk about? Do we want to move on to other things now?
Yeah, let's talk about stuff that we didn't make.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, okay. Because I mean that could actually lead into like stuff that we've experienced that we like. Because I played a lot of good games this year.
Exactly.
Well, I'm pretty sure this is the year I started playing Dark Souls.
It sure is. Because you started playing it on stream.
Yep, and then I infected everybody else.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's really, really good.
It didn't come out this year, but it's relevant to Alex this year.
It's important. I think that game is extraordinary. And I think people who have a piqued interest in the first place ought to give it a try and not be disappointed if it turns out to not
if you've
be
been
for you.
considering playing Dark Souls, you should. But if you've been considering it and have been put off by the fan base, because let's be honest, they are a barrier to entry on that game,
as is the game itself in some respects.
Oh
but,
yeah. A lot of people have said that our streams and the replays thereof have helped them
so happy about
get into the game. So check out,
because there's no judgment about not knowing anything.
Yeah, youtube.com/loadingreadylive is where all of the replays for our streams go, and you can find all the other stuff I was talking about there as well. And check out Alex's streams or my streams.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have been like, that really helped me.
I actually
Dark Souls.
get a big kick out of giving people the explanation that they actually want. Like I was playing last night and some guy was like, dumb question, how does humanity work? And I was like, well, let me tell you. And I went through it and actually demonstrated. And I just love doing that for people because it's just like, hey, there's no dumb questions. I didn't know this when
It's not like the game explains humanity very well.
No.
It's perfectly simple, Graham. You just crack a humanity and then you offer it to reverse hollowing and then you can kindle the bonfire.
I mean, part of the appeal,
which gives you more Estus.
What?
Part of the appeal of Dark Souls is that it's a puzzle. It's a complicated thing that you have to figure out and master, which gives you a great sense of accomplishment. But at the same time, it can be completely overwhelming when you first start.
You need to know the rules.
It's really difficult, and it doesn't. Yeah, it's super difficult, and it doesn't tell you the rules at all.
Yeah,
like it gives you, I think, a tenth of them really.
Cam had the best analogy for Dark Souls that I think I've ever heard.
Ooh.
He said that a lot of the time he hears people talk about Dark Souls the way teenagers talk about whiskey. where it's just like, oh yeah, man, I got so like fucked up on this whiskey. I got it out of my dad's cabinet, and it was so brutal, and it like burned, and I was doing like pulls and stuff because like I'm so hard. Whereas somebody who's actually into whiskey is like, this is a complex treat.
Yeah,
that has an acquired taste.
You drink it over an extended period of time.
Yeah,
right.
And that's what I think Dark Souls is. It's like a lot of people, I don't, sort of view it as being like this brutal ordeal.
If you go in and try and slam a shot of Dark Souls, it will burn on the way down.
Yes.
You'd be like, this is really terrible.
You must sip the Dark Souls and appreciate its flavor.
You know what my analogy for Dark Souls is?
I love that we're spending like 5 minutes talking about a game that came out like 4 years ago.
I know.
It's really good.
It's the music.
We discovered it this year.
It's the music of Autekra. Autekra is incredibly rewarding to listen to if you can sit there and slowly take it apart and sort of like understand the song. But if you just go and listen to an Autekra album while you're trying to do something else, you're like, what is this? No, get it away from me.
I think that's going to inform a lot of that's actually an analogy that's going to inform a lot of your music picks for this year, because you love music that is well constructed. That even...
You've seen me listening to music.
Oh, yeah. That in a lot of instances, I do not think sounds good. I can be like, yes, that is very well constructed, and I appreciate it technically, but I do not actually enjoy listening to it. And to you, that is not a separate thing. Like, if something is technically well constructed, you're like, yes, this is great.
It gives me makes the little hairs rise up on my arms.
I just think that's really interesting. Now, some of it I love. Like, you like Boards of Canada for that reason. I think Boards of Canada sounds sweet.
They're good.
But you were listening to, it's not on your list, but you were listening to...
St. Vincent self-titled.
No, that was sweet. You were listening to One of Tricks Point Never and being like, oh, this song's so good. I do not like that song.
The song I played you last night?
Neither of those songs.
They were so good.
No. I did not enjoy listening to them.
Oh.
They were. I agree with you that they were amazingly constructed, but I didn't actually like how they sounded.
That's where taste comes in.
Yeah, exactly. But to you, that is the same thing. I think that's really interesting. What are some of your music picks?
All right.
We'll come back to
video games. All right. So I broke it up into two categories: old music and new music, and I have some thoughts on them. There's some really good albums that didn't make the cut onto my sort of super short list of things I wanted to talk about. That I will please, if you are interested in any of this, you can follow me on RDO. You can get RDO and Spotify in Canada now, but I already have an RDO account, and I don't feel like going through the incredibly time-consuming process of moving over several hundred albums of favorites to a new service.
Spotify.
Spotify. Anyhow,
it's not
old music that has come out sometime in some of these situations a very long time ago, maybe only a couple years ago, but I started listening to it this year. Vatican Shadow is really good industrial music. I like it. Their songs are really weird. It's extremely minimalist. Tame Impala, which is sort of a garage rock 70s, 60s, late 60s, early 70s nostalgia band, I guess, from Australia.
If you're wondering how to spell that, it's like an impala, the animal, but tame.
Yeah, Tame Impala.
You'd be forgiven for thinking that it was a man named Mr. Taman, last name Paula. I'm just helping people Google these.
All right. They make really good, like, scuzzy, fun guitar music, and it sounds awesome. And if you like music from the 60s and the 70s, you might really, really enjoy Tame Impala. I like garage rock and stuff like that. They're really fun, but they're very they're kind of heavy. Bedhead, which is probably the opposite of Tame Impala. I got started listening to Bedhead after they were mentioned on an All Songs Considered podcast by one of the interns, and I can't remember which one because there's a lot of them. But Best of Bedhead sort of collection of their 3 albums came out. They're an indie rock band from Texas in the 90s, and they make these incredibly slow, sort of jammy songs where it seems like not a lot happens, but if you listen to it, it's really rewarding, and it's just nice music to have in the background if you're just looking for stuff that's not too present. But if you give it a careful listen, will be extremely rewarding. My pick out of their 3 albums is start with Transaction de Novo, but that is a Bedhead are fantastic. And an album I spent a ton of time listening to was this year was Marquee Moon by Television, which I have to completely admit, my best friend Adam told me to listen to that album, I think probably 4 to 5 years ago, and I was like, yeah, I'll get to it. But I actually put a lot of solid listens into it this year, and it's amazing. For those of you who don't know who Television are, they put out a couple albums in the late 70s. They're part of the New York punk scene. But you think punk, meh, but this is like virtuistic guitar playing, extra long solos. As a personal passion project, I want to take the song Marquee Moon, which is I think 10 minutes long, and actually make a music video for it that's super weird and interesting to look at. So something will keep your attention, so you will listen to the extent of the guitar solo, because the guitar solo is so good. I am a nerd. I like the music of 40-year-old men.
Nerd?
I just love it.
But seriously, go listen to Marquee Moon. That album's fucking awesome.
So here's our 2014 roundup, wherein Kathleen talks about an album from the 70s.
Okay, but hold on. That's just my old music that I discovered this year. This is my top 5 short list from this year.
Okay.
And going in order from 5 to 4.
5 to 1.
5 to 1, yeah. I don't know if this is a top 5 very hastily assembled, but first one, number 5, Clark's self-titled album. It is IDM, intelligence dance music. I don't like that genre signifier, but I realize there's nothing better. It makes it seem like music that you can't really dance to this music, and it makes it seem like other electronic music is stupid, which I don't like that idea. I think all
I was
music,
going to say that's almost by definition kind of pretentious.
It's super. But I don't know of a better way to.
IDM is a super pretentious genre name, but
I don't.
No one has a better one.
Yeah. So anyhow, IDM. It's on Warp. Warp represents usually pretty highly on my top album lists. But anyhow, it's really good. If you like, Clark has a bunch of really good albums in his back catalog, and it is interesting to listen to. Arca, which is a producer that has worked with Kanye West and a couple other people, put out an album called Zen this year, which is not necessarily the most listenable to music, because it's kind of a concept album about otherworldly bodies and the concept of gender. It's presented from the alter ego of a female alter ego of his. It's a really weird album, but at the same time there's a lot of experimental stuff going on, but at the same time there's some really good pop nugget hits, and this guy's a kind of a hotshot producer, so there's some really great moments on the album. It's interesting to listen to if the way music is put together is something that interests you, and I really think that if you liked the sort of FKA Twigs movement that's happening, and where R&B and hip hop and electronic music are coming together and having a weird minimalistic baby, you will like this album.
Huh. And it's Zen with an X?
Yes.
Isn't that the name of the Off-World in Half-Life?
Yep.
Interesting.
I don't know if that's intentional, but yeah.
Well, Half-Life came out long enough ago.
Yeah.
Caribou's Our Love came out this year. This is nothing like that. It's just another fantastic album from Caribou. Dan Snaith is great.
Oh, Caribou.
Caribou is fantastic. This album's good. All his albums are good.
He put in a really good live show when we saw him.
He's going on tour again, but he's not going to Victoria.
Wah,
I might go see him in Vancouver, though. In the number 2 spot, Aphex Twin's Cyro.
Oh, Aphex Twin?
Aphex Twin. Okay, so a lot of people are like, this album's kind of boring. And I told this rant, Graham's heard this rant before, but it's okay.
Okay.
How much Aphex Twin have you listened to in the past? Because I'm sure that you think Window Licker is so cool, and you've been listening to that for a long time, which makes you OG electronic music fan, right? But if you've heard any of Aphex Twin's back catalog, you would know that most of his music's actually pretty goddamn listenable. What the fuck were you expecting? Bucephalus Bouncing Ball Part 2? That's not what his music really sounds like. There's a million albums of selected ambient works. Well, I guess there's 2. But the thing is, most of his music is really listenable and fun and interesting, yet extremely complicated. And what makes Aphex Twin really good is that you listen to the songs and you're like, yeah, I'm really enjoying this. And then you take it apart, you're like, fuck, there's a lot of shit going on. This is and it's exquisitely crafted. And it's this weird genre of weird, listenable, strange music that sort of uses these instruments and unconventional time signatures, but is put together in such a way that you still can really get into the song, which is no small feat.
I think you might have jumped the explaining the part of what the criticism being leveled at it was.
Well,
I think I missed
boring.
That it was boring?
People said it was boring. Some people said it was boring. That it missed the mark for an Aphex Twin album, and
In
I
what
think
way?
That it wasn't. They wanted something different, I guess. they wanted something that was more experimental, but Aphex Twin has never been about making like extremely like hard experimental electronic music.
That's the part that you missed in the explanation.
Like he put out like Drux is like his last mainstream album, and it was way experimental by Aphex Twin standards, and nobody liked it at the time. Remember? You're like, I can't listen to this. So Kathleen's been listening to electronic music for a long time and has a long memory for these kind of things.
So to clarify, because I think your rage overtook this. People were criticizing Cyro for not being experimental enough that he'd gone to not mainstream, but that it was too accessible.
It was an easy listening Aphex Twin album.
And your criticism is he's actually always been listenable, and the one super experimental album he did have, nobody liked.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's had a pretty big output, so he's done like weirder stuff and more like fun to listen to stuff, and people seem to people fixate on like the weirder stuff and the putting his face in things, but they don't know so much of his back catalog. And I understand that because it's like an easy way to get into understanding the appeal of his Aphex Twin, that he's this phenomenally weird guy who hides his face in things and makes like super hot models wear masks of his face for his videos. And that's very visual and easy to get. And Window Licker's a really weird song, but at the same time, it's also a really good pop song. Mm-hmm. Right? Like it's very fun to listen to. So anyhow, Cyro was really, really good and really complex and really, really well put together and really, really listenable and really interesting. So if you want to get into electronic music, or you're like, what the F is Kathleen talking about all the time? Go listen to Cyro. It's excellent.
Even I enjoyed it. Have fun telling people which track was your favorite.
Oh, I just refer to them by numbers because they're all named after the equipment he used.
He names his tracks in incomprehensibly useless ways.
Well, it's all named after his synths. So it's like,
wow.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, what's your number one?
My number one is actually not an electronic music album. Quelle surprise!
What?
I know. And it's CanCon. What?
Oh, well, we have to have a certain amount of CanCon.
Yeah.
That's Canadian content for those who are outside of Canada. And
I've never heard that phrase before.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Never heard CanCon before.
Oh, okay.
When I used to host a radio show in Chetwynd, it got banded around a lot because I had to have 30% CanCon minimum.
Yeah, any broadcast, according to the CRTC, which is the Canadian Television and Radio Commission, any broadcast in Canada, this includes television or radio, has to be 30% Canadian content.
See, I knew about that. I just didn't know about the contraction.
Yeah. So you have this, in radio stations or on TV, you'll have little annotations beside something being like, this is CanCon. And so that's why especially on university radio, you get a lot of weirder local stuff because people are like, well, it's all right, let's get this on there.
That's where like Bob and Doug McKenzie came out of. They're just like, okay, fine. They're like a bunch of hosers.
Yeah.
Well, they're from SCTV, but yes.
Yeah. But yeah, it's the similar thing.
All right, what's your CanCon?
My CanCon is an album by Mac DeMarco, and it's called Salad Days. And it is a really beautiful singer. I know this is so weird for me, but it's a singer-songwriter album. It's like him and his guitar, and it's not very long. And all of these songs are incredibly lovely and nice and easy listening and well put together and just really catchy. It's a great album. I'm not selling you on it because I'm describing it. Go out and listen to it. It's just really effing good. And it's the kind of thing where I've been listening to it in the background and I realize I know and love all of the songs.
Hooray!
Awesome. So I guess I had less to say about that because I can just say this album is fantastic.
That's good.
And Cyro is also fantastic, but I feel like bring some music stupidity baggage with it because people are idiots.
Well, that was when Kathleen told me that story, I remember telling her that when Always Outnumbered, Never Outgunned came out, which was the first Prodigy album in however many years, like 10 years or something, following Fat of the Land, which, believe me, you've heard tracks off of the Fat of the Land. It was the one with Breathe and Voodoo People. And,
it was kind of genre defining.
It was. It
was a new moment of electronic music. It
literally was genre defining. It started.
It absolutely mainstreamed a lot of the acts that had been sort of like coming out of the UK at the same time too.
Yeah, and there was a criticism there was the review on Pitchfork at the time when Always Outnumbered, Never Outgunned came out that said that the album was bad, not on its own merits.
Wait, what?
But because, well, they didn't say that explicitly, but what I took away from this review was that the album was bad not because of its own merits, but because it was not as groundbreaking as Fat of the Land. which was insane. Which is like, no, it's not. It's different also, and there's songs on it that I like and some I don't like as much, but it's still a good album in its own way.
It didn't revolutionize the world. It's garbage.
Very few bands have the ability to put out even 2 music revolutionizing albums in a row, and I can think of like 3 of them, and I think that's probably I can think of
that must be such a pain in the ass for artists.
Radiohead, the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, maybe. Like, we're talking about like the very best musicians who have probably come out of the 20th century have the ability to do that 2 albums in a row. Give us a break.
And then weirdly, Invaders Must Die, which was their next album, sounded more like their old stuff. I enjoyed it less because it sounded more like their old stuff, presumably because
people wanted more of the same.
Presumably because he got gun shy when everyone was like, "This doesn't sound as much like your old stuff," and he was like, "Oh, I'd better not keep evolving then." And
better just like regress.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is when you just regress, that sometimes you make really good music, and sometimes that you make music that's not as good as the first set of ideas you had around. It's really hard being creative.
Yeah, well, especially when people seem to know better than you what you ought to be doing.
Music is bad for that, though.
That actually leads really neatly into one of my video game picks for the year.
Ooh.
Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes.
Oh yeah.
No, it's just talking about, being creative there and whether or not you should evolve and doing the same thing again but different and all that. And look, Ground Zeroes is, yes, it's basically a demo that you pay for, but there was enough replayability there. I played it for 2 streams. So like, there's like if you replay everything again and like perfect the demo, there's like 8 hours maybe of stuff there, and it's just fun to play around in that world. And I don't know, I guess I liked Ground Zeroes mostly because it was a promise of what Metal Gear Solid 5 is going to be like, and it's fun, and those games are fun. They're silly and stupid and not without a couple problematic issues, but they're fun. I like Ground Zeroes a lot.
Also, it's really rewarding to finally figure out the story of the Metal Gear Solid universe. There's that.
Have fun with that, by the way.
There's extensive Wikipedia articles.
Oh, yeah.
Oh boy.
Metal Gear Solid 4
and then a wizard did it.
Yeah.
Shh.
I got some more video games to talk about, but I want to go back to Alex. What other games?
As well. This was okay. I discovered at least 2 times running, I have had a title where I'm like, this is too hard, I'm not going to play it. Mm-hmm. I did that with Dark Souls.
Yeah.
Where I was just like, I actually tried playing Dark Souls 2 first, and was like, this game's bullshit, I'm never going to play it. And I was still peaked, and then I found my way into Dark Souls 1. I was like, oh, I get it. Oh, I get it now. And I had the same experience with a mod, actually. Stalker Call of Pripyat Misery, which I looked at and I was like, this seems too granular and too hard and too nasty.
It's called Misery for a reason.
It is called Misery for a reason. And I was just like,
did Misery come out this year?
I don't know if it did. It may have like updated.
Okay.
I don't remember when it first came out, but Misery is like a complete concept mod for Call of Pripyat, which is already a good game. It's like I think I've talked a lot about Stalker in the past and how much I like the first game and how it's kind of an unpolished gem that if you throw the right kinds of mods its way, then it really hums. And this sort of did the same thing for Call of Pripyat. It takes the existing game, strips out the whole UI, so it's just like you and the viewpoint. I think there might be a teeny little bar that shows your health at the bottom and maybe your bullets. But it really makes it very immersive. It adds a day-night cycle, a weather cycle. It makes the graphics way better. It's a lot harder. There's like new things added, and just like a metric shit ton of new items. Like stuff like repair kits, and like you have to keep track of like water and food, and make sure you're rested well enough and all this other junk. And it's just like, it looked really intimidating.
Yeah, it sounds actually like...
Yeah, it sounds like a pain in the ass until like... But when I got into it, I was like, okay, this isn't quite as bad as I was expecting. And I mean, I've played like Minecraft mods before that have like literally 10,000 items.
Right.
And you can ignore like 9,000 of them. And it was really fun. I really enjoyed it because, you know, it's another one of those mods like Lurk for the first Stalker game that just makes it more like what I want out of Stalker, which is like a really dark, oppressive, you know, immersive experience. And I had a big kick out of it. A lot of hilarious moments of just like being utterly screwed all the time. It's like, no, give my rifle back. Oh no, you beat me to death with it. Good times.
I this sounds way cattier than it is. Were there any games that came out this year that you liked? In this 2014 retrospective.
I feel like oh geez.
The last one on your list came out in 2013.
God damn it.
Well, talk about it anyway.
Yeah, I played.
What was the game where you were the lonely spaceman?
Oh shit. God damn it. Lifeless Planet?
Oh yeah.
Lifeless Planet I really liked.
That was cool.
The only mistake I made was like trying to grind out the last hours, and then I just got like burned out on it. But I really liked that game. I thought it was a great little experience, and it was super fun.
Also, I got to ask you, actually, I'm sure this has been documented on stream, but how do you feel about Evil Within?
Oh God, that's a weird one because
it's the new Resident Evil 4, right?
It is, and it isn't. The weird thing about Evil Within is that I've been really having fun playing it, you know, except for the most recent part. Probably for all the wrong reasons. Because it's like Evil Within is like a perfect parody of like the shittiest horror action game tropes imaginable. Like if I was trying to make a parody, it would look exactly like that game.
Maybe that's why Susan didn't like it, because she loves horror games, and maybe.
Oh yeah, it's terrible. The game's like bad. Mm-hmm. And bad in weird ways, because it's like, you know, the art direction is actually phenomenal.
It looks
great. Amazing. But it's just like, this is so stupid and thematically confused, and is just like, it inadvertently becomes a cartoon.
It's like, well, the reason you're enjoying playing it on stream is it's like watching a shitty horror movie with all your friends, where you're just like, oh, this is
like,
so
oh no,
dumb.
Here comes the guy with the chainsaw, and it's made funnier because it plays itself absolutely straight.
Good.
It is so serious about itself and has no awareness of how dumb it is. Like, it's just so full of like these Looney Tunes booby traps, and you know, just like goofy situations. It's like,
are you being stalked by Wile E. Coyote? Because it seems like you are.
Honestly, it really feels like that. And there's just like it's trying to pull off this, you know, like really gritty, realistic horror atmosphere that is at direct odds with the zany goofball situations you get into that are just like they're very video gamey, if that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just like you go into what is conspicuously a video game level, and mobs come out, and then there's like dudes in towers that shower you with a fully automatic harpoon launcher gun. And then there's like levers that you pull, and like doors open and more dudes come out and stuff. And it's just like, it's so stupid. But
fun.
But yeah, it's also kind of fun, and I'm laughing at it most of the time.
Yeah.
So it's weird.
There's a game that I really enjoyed that was stupid for all the right reasons.
Oh, yeah.
And I see you only have one game on your list, Kathleen, but I'm betting you will agree with me on this. South Park: The Stick of Truth.
Didn't that come out in the end of 2013?
Nope.
Oh.
It was on all the. It was in all the awards shows.
Oh, I do. I
thought that came out at the end of the year, so I didn't put it on my list.
You played it like on launch day.
No, I didn't. I played it like 3 weeks afterwards.
Huh.
Yeah.
I thought it came out at the end of 2013.
You played it on stream, like in the middle of the spring.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, that
I'm
sounds about
fairly certain it came out this year.
It did. I'm wrong.
Thank you, James.
James is yelling at us from off camera. Okay, yeah, that game is great. It's like playing an episode of South Park.
A really, really, really long episode of South Park.
My only complaint about that game, and now, and having played it without too many spoilers, I can see why they did it. But I was so excited to be a character in a South Park game, and then so disappointed that I had to be a boy. Because I was like, I'm gonna be a South Park character, yeah, and then I realized the only gender choice was male.
And you're like, why would they do that? Because this is from Obsidian, and they make games with tons of character.
I was like,
thing.
I was cheesed.
And your character doesn't talk.
Exactly.
And it's South Park, so it'd be easy.
So they give they give you a stupid nickname, and they never really refer to you by anything.
Yeah, and you're like, why isn't that?
And there's a plot reason later.
Yeah, it actually. Well, it's not really a spoiler for the game. It's so one of the things that they come up with on South Park a lot is this whole thing that these are school kids, and there's a big plot section later on where it's they're grade 4, I think.
Yeah,
3 or 4, where it's the boys versus the girls, and it's
which is the kind of thing that would happen.
It's a big thing. It's all about cooties and like so and so likes so and so or whatever, and your character is on the side of the boys, and there's a whole thing where you get disguised as a girl and you have to infiltrate the like secret grade 4 cabal of the,
which is really funny,
like the Mean Girls kind of thing, and that actually it just wouldn't work if your character was.
Well, speaking as one of those weird girls who usually hung out with boys because they shared the interests that I did.
Yes, it works in real life, but not in the South Park parody world of what grade 4 is like.
I know, but
right?
I want.
Yeah.
I wanted to be in a South Park.
This is the only time I will defend this choice.
I know. I wanted to be a South. Well, I know. I see why they did it now, and I'm not saying it's unexcusable, but like they dangled the carrot of me, myself, personally creating, because they tell you make yourself, and I'm like, yes. And me, I am a girl, and I was. But aside from that, the game's excellent, and I think that is honestly overall a minor quibble. But it was. But if you could just not get pissed off about that at the beginning, you will enjoy it.
I know a game that came out this year that I really liked.
What's that?
The Long Dark.
I was going to ask you about The Long Dark.
It's really good. I've been actually like leaving it so that the updates build up because there's a whole bunch more content now.
Did you see someone tweet about that the other day? It
what?
was like The Long Dark has the rarely used video game conflict of player versus Canada.
Yeah, like that's
spoilers. Canada
that's
wins.
That whole thing is like there's so many games where it's like player versus enemies or player versus player. I don't think it happens very often that it's like player versus the environment.
Rather than,
it's just like there are wolves, but they're almost an incidental part of the greater threat of just the elements trying to kill you without any intent.
Yeah, because like in Minecraft,
yeah,
the world is not trying to kill you. It's the enemies that come out at night.
Yeah, it's just like
but in The Long Dark, while the wolves are seriously a big problem,
they're actually just basically fellow survivors.
Yeah,
who maybe have less means than you, but
I like that.
It's really great because it's just like survive.
It's like the shelter games.
Yeah, and the best part about it is like it was the game I was really hoping someone would make. The game where it's just like it is a straight up survival game. Where there's no sort of. I mean, there's no
horror.
There might be like PvP stuff like later, or I heard that they might be implementing humans at some point, but I actually really, really like it. Just you and the cold don't die, and there's some real drama there. I think it taps into something that video games have been trying to get into, which is like when you watch a movie or read a book or something like that, you are partaking of someone else's story or a story about someone else.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, and that gets worked into a lot of video games where it's just like you're a surrogate character who is part of a story that's already been established. A game like The Long Dark or like Minecraft, you're the main character. This is your story about you, and your struggles that you encounter in there sort of organically become like your own tale that no one could write except you.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big advantage of the interactive medium that video games are, that people are only really now starting to sort of like explore into, and I'm really excited that more people will be able to do that.
And it seemed that The Long Dark had a lot of stuff that was way better thought out and executed than like the 8 million other games on Steam that are open worldy survival with crafting.
Yeah.
Right?
Because it's like, I mean,
that's a big.
It happens a lot.
That's a big. Oh, we could make one of those genre.
it's easy to make, but hard to master.
Well, this one, not only does it execute it well, even in like the alpha, it was, I could see how it was functioning well. And most of the problems I had with it were little things like UI and, things that they're eventually, inevitably going to fix. So it works, and then it gives you that sense of survival, just like, trying to, do this balancing act, and like you have moments where, just like something fails on you and it's like a big deal. Like I was almost starving to death, and I was like, okay, there's a caribou, click. And it's just like, I'm fucked.
Like, uh-oh.
This hammer fell on it on the round, and it didn't go off in my rifle. Now I'm dead. I'm not dead yet. It may take like 30 minutes, but like this is a big problem.
Wow.
And and then like I think in that same session I like ended up just like running through total darkness, with a flare out, and I was like, I am all in on finding a carcass. That is the only way I live. And I'm just like running, and I found one.
Nice.
And I'm just like, get it, and gotta get back, gotta cook it, gotta eat it, and it's just like, so yeah, there's some great, really genuine drama in that game. I love it.
We'll talk about great execution. Another game that I really liked that was really, really small is an iOS game. It's called Hitman Go.
I've never heard of that.
It's really good. It's a very small studio. I don't recall the name. I'll look it up. They got the Hitman license.
So it's actually
it's an official Hitman game, but it's a little puzzle game.
Maybe I have seen this.
It's a little turn-based puzzle game, and it's just so well done. The graphics on it is like you're playing with the little Agent 47 as like a playing piece on this board. It uses this really cool like depth of field to look like you're playing on a little board game, and it's just turn-based. You'd move around the board and try to capture the mans and eliminate the target, but it's just really well made. It's really slick. It's fun. It's challenging. It's well designed. And I was like, this is not what I would expect from this franchise. Certainly not now. And it's just really good. It's just a really fun, slick, polished little game. I would hugely recommend it.
It was a good year
Go.
for unique, fun, polished mobile games.
Mm-hmm.
Crossy Road.
Oh, yeah.
Threes.
Oh, yes. Of course. Threes.
Did Monument Valley come out this year?
Oh, Monument Valley. God, how did I forget about Monument Valley?
Like, they're small. They do one thing extremely well, and they're just like really hit that beautiful like sort of gameplay loop moment. All of those games are great if you haven't played them. I feel like recommending those games.
Maybe this is tangentially related, but when did GeoGuessr come out?
Oh, like a couple years ago.
A couple years ago. We only just recently found it.
You all started playing it, and I tried it out. It's really, really fun.
It's super fun. I love the world.
The world is great.
Hitman Go, Square Enix, but who actually developed it?
You probably have to look it up online. You're not going to find that on maybe on the web.
No. Developer website. I think this just goes to Square Enix. Yeah.
Yeah. You'd have to like do a little research. Speaking of Square Enix games, though, Bravely Default's really good. I didn't play it at first because I don't tend to like sword and sorcery based JRPGs anymore because all of their stories are way too similar. They're always too boring. They're always like sort of badly implemented. They're just kind of...
Well, I mean, you take the characters off a shelf and the plot off the shelf and you just go.
And they're so dull to me because I played so many of those.
Young child are the chosen one of legend. Gather the things.
Rescue the MacGuffin.
Oh, God.
Like, I hate those games. Because, I played a ton of them. I've already played them all. I don't need to play versions that are mostly the same except not quite as elegant and with less good characters, right? But Bravely Default, which I avoided picking up because it looked very generic, I will totally admit it has a generic storyline. It's not particularly innovative. It's kind of rote, but the characters themselves are good and the game is fantastically put together. I feel like the storyline's actually the weakest part, but it's really fun to play. Also, it's like everything you loved about like old Final Fantasy, like Final Fantasy like 5 or 6. It's got a fantastic job system that's super complicated. There's 24 jobs you can get, but you set your primary job, then you have a secondary job, and then you have skill slots where you can have things things from any job, right? So you can really customize your characters. That's great. And the characters themselves are well written. And the game has all of the improvements from new games that you like an auto mode. So basically, all you need to do if you need to grind out some levels or like increase your job points, which is something you do need to do, is just like hold down the left stick and get into some random encounters while you're like watching Graham play Destiny, which is kind of how I do it. But when you do play, it's really fun. It's excellent. I like it. Go Bravely Default.
Sweet. Also, Hitman Go is also out for Android. I wanted to mention also for that.
Beep boop.
That actually, Kathleen, is a perfect segue to I don't know what else I could possibly say is my game of the year for me personally, not in terms of like quality, like objective quality for me personally. It's obviously Destiny, right?
Yeah.
You would be, Kathleen, would be surprised if I said anything else.
No, because it's definitely the game that you've put the most fun into playing.
Yeah, like I got it basically at launch-ish. I never played the alpha or the beta, but I got it around launch, and I basically haven't put it down. Like, obviously during Desert Bus, but I still play like an hour or two a day at least.
Yeah, there's some problems with Destiny, but I feel that those who like it because it's fun to play, not because they're looking for anything else.
This is a joke I stole from somewhere on the internet, but it's the year's best 6 out of 10. You're like, like, it's weird. All the problems that people say, it's true, right? Like the loot system they're fixing it a little, but the loot system is weird, and the way that they do certain content is strange and all that. And all the complaints are true, like the way that they're telling the story, that's also bad. But it's fun. It's really fun. If there's one thing Bungie knows how to do after their years and years and years of making first-person shooters, is making gameplay that feels good. It feels rewarding to play it. Like just the way the guns work and the jumping and the punching and
which is
the
really
shooting.
important for an action game.
It's so hard to do. It's actually really hard to make a first-person shooter that you want to play just for playing it. Like, Kathleen, do you remember playing when we were playing Grandia 3 for PS2?
Yes.
And it was the story was not great.
Oh, but characters would fall into plot holes.
Yeah, we kept playing that game because the fight system was great.
Yes.
Like, yeah, I mean, like the turn-based RPG combat in Grandia 3 was just fun to play.
It's
right?
like, yeah, I mean, like that's a really important thing for a lot of games. And there's games that I'll play where excuse me, ostensibly the gameplay itself is actually really miserable. Mm-hmm. Stalker's actually probably a pretty good example. The combat's not very good, but atmosphere. But I think, for the most part, as a general rule, the gameplay should come first. That's why I enjoyed what the hell is it called? Rogue Legacy so much.
Oh yeah,
it was just so fun to play. It's like a platformer needs tight controls, tight.
Well, that and Spelunky and stuff.
Oh yeah, Spelunky's also the same way. It's just like it moves well, and it's just like fun to do stuff.
And like, yes, Destiny has the whole, the MMO standby of I need to get all the things and make all the numbers the biggest that they can be.
But people like those Skinner boxes for a reason.
They love them for a reason. Yeah, exactly. And it's the first sort of MMO experience I've had. A bunch of my friends have played MMOs and like World of Warcraft, especially over the years, and it never interested me ever. The gameplay has just never excited me in any way, and Destiny, I crave it. It's so fun. It's really important that the game feels so rewarding.
I think I feel the same way. It's because like I look at MMOs and I'm like, I can see the community and exploration multiplayer stuff like seems really cool. But I just look at the gameplay. I was like, this looks like dog shit.
Yeah, it's never looked appealing to me.
And I understand that some people like love that stuff, but I'm like, this looks awful.
And that's why the other stuff in Destiny is such a letdown, because there's some stuff that's like so good. Like I was playing with our friend Ben at Dandy Geek on Twitter last night, and we were in a fire team with a third random guy because you get match made for strikes. Mm-hmm. And so he and I were talking, but we weren't talking to the third guy because you don't have to. And
you snobs.
And we just heard this like pew, and both of us were like, oh hey, like we heard the other guy shoot, and we're like, oh, this guy has an icebreaker. Like there's certain exotic guns you can tell which gun it is by the sound it makes. And just that little details, like, and it's a really satisfying sound too. Especially like the Mida multi-tool makes a really good like thunk noise when you fire it, and you're just like, yes, I did little details like that, and like the way that the pickups look when they drop and when you pick them up. There's so much good stuff in there that makes it feel good to play. That it is a bummer that all the other stuff is less good, but. Sometimes
Year's best 6 out of 10.
Yeah, sometimes I just read the Grimoire cards in the iOS app when I have a few minutes, and that's I get my lore that way.
Get your lore.
Speaking of lore, I have I listen to a lot of podcasts because I enjoy. Apparently, podcasts are going through somewhat of a renaissance.
Good,
a renaissance.
That's good for us. We do podcasts.
Of the popularity of Serial, which I'm sure I don't need to explain. I actually don't listen to it, because I don't really care about true crime. But here's my podcast pick. If you like lore, go not Data's brother, the LORE. Sorry, I really wanted to make that joke, because that's when I hear lore, that is the first place my mind goes, because it's not a commonly used word, and I watched a lot of Star Trek as a child. But go subscribe to the Radio Lab podcast. It's been going for a long time. It's really popular, but it's an NPR show, so I feel like a lot of Canadians maybe haven't heard of it because we don't get NPR here. Radio Lab is great. It's hosted by Robert Krulwich and Jad Evanrod, and they are two people with exploration and science and interest on the mind, and there are some really deep, really interesting examinations of like the person. They had an episode about a guy who inherited a house from his parents and spent years and years fixing it up and having sort of nightmarish dreams that his parents were mad at him and were like putting things back the way it was. And then somebody said his house was haunted, and they brought in and then the Kansas City Ghost Squad came in, and it's a really interesting meditation on what it means to like live in this house where your parents had died both quickly from cancer, and why maybe he was having trouble letting go and all of that stuff, but filtered through the discussion of ghosts and how they fake these stupid fake ghost things with the flashlights. But also a really fascinating series on they did a really good episode on how we got the metric system, and this guy who had an autistic kid who he managed to open up through the use of Disney movies, which was really heartbreaking but also beautiful. And the episodes range in length from 20 minutes to an hour, and they're always freaking amazing, and you will learn so much. So that is my pick, is the Radio Lab podcast.
Hooray.
Can I ask you, for the benefit of the viewers, that other podcast you listen to? I know it has a really dull name.
The History of the English Language.
Yes. It's super neat. It's super interesting.
Yeah, I talked about a little bit on my Desert Bus driving shift, but if you want to know extensive history of that part of the world, starting in Roman times and kind of going forward, also a bunch of grammar nerd stuff, it is fantastic. It's like 55 episodes in. All of the episodes are an hour long. They're incredible. It's like listening to a university lecture. You need to pay attention when you listen to that podcast.
Yeah. The term husband was a job because they were in charge of they were bound to the house.
Yes.
They were the husband. They were bonded to the hus.
Well,
I am the husband.
That is
right?
interesting.
Yeah. So that's
little
your
things
jam.
that was Nordic originally,
not Nordic,
Saxon,
Germanic.
Anyway, the point is, listen to that podcast. It's really interesting.
Sweet.
So,
did y'all watch any movies this year?
I have no movie picks this year.
I have 3.
I have a couple.
And you're also wrong, Kathleen.
Wow.
They're not. Hey,
No. That you didn't watch movies.
I
know. Because one of
know.
my picks is assuredly on your list if you remember it.
The thing is, I get off on music the same way that you guys get off on movies.
Okay.
Right? For you guys, albums are things that kind of happen while you're going on, and you're like, sometimes they're really good and they stick in your mind. But movies, you're like, yeah, that really captured my imagination. I feel that way about music.
Fair enough.
So
Alex,
don't sass me.
Alex, what you got? No, you said you didn't watch any movies. That's what I was asking.
I actually didn't watch a lot of movies, so I was going to say...
Neither did I.
I saw The Winter Soldier, and it was actually
Winter
good.
Soldier was great.
It was okay.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Okay. No, I thought it was... it was everything I wanted out of, a dumb superhero movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it worked great. And hilariously enough, Kim is, into the sort of fandom surrounding those movies now.
Yeah.
Which I think is really cute.
Related. obviously Guardians of the Galaxy.
That was everything I wanted from a dumb superhero movie.
It was
I've
so
heard
good.
it's quite good.
You really should see
It's
it.
actually pretty
very,
good.
Very, it's the most fun I've had in a movie theater in a very long time.
It's fun that the way that the first, so 4, 5, and 6, the good Star Wars movies are fun.
Okay, because what sort of attracted me is like, it looked like, it's like, okay, it's a sci-fi adventure thing, but it looked very aware of how stupid it was.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Which I love.
But it's super.
But at the same
super
time,
good.
very consistent and takes the material seriously, right? So yeah, it's that is a hard line to tread,
Yeah.
and that movie nails it.
Good job to them.
Whereas the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy movie tried to tread the same line, and it was fucking awful.
Yeah.
This gets it.
All right.
But Guardians is probably not my favorite movie of the year.
What is it?
Even though it's the most fun I had in the theater.
What is it?
From like someone who enjoys the art of filmmaking perspective, it's got to be the Grand Budapest Hotel.
Oh yeah, that movie was beautiful.
There you go.
There's all these movies I missed this year. I was just like in a
I
hole.
was like, I saw that with you. I know you've seen a movie this year.
Oh, that was a movie I really liked.
It was beautiful. Like I don't know if you've seen it, Alex, but
No.
there's a really cool thing where the movie takes place. There are aspects of the movie that take place in 3 time periods. It doesn't like jump around a lot, but it's
Okay.
like there's a flashback and then a further flashback.
Yeah.
And each different time period is shot on a different film stock in a different aspect ratio. And so it just that little like.
It's a beautifully subtle way of immediately letting you know that this is a different time and context, but they don't have to fucking bonk you over the head with it.
And it's just so nice.
Did I mention how much I love implicit storytelling?
Oh, you love this movie.
It's really good. It's also, and also, it's a farce. That's the best part. Is it's a Wes Anderson farce. It's really fun. Like it's shot like a Wes Anderson movie, and it has all the same like detail and care and art direction,
and sort of the
it looks
weird
gorgeous.
acting.
It looks sumptuous
Yeah.
to watch it, but it's also just really goofy and funny.
Sweet. I'll have to check it out.
You should really check that.
Speaking of movies,
and when it has to be serious, it's really good at doing that too.
Yeah, I just briefly before I throw it back to you, Alex, I just want to say, I would never. This is my general opinion of Wes Anderson, because I know that he's not for everybody. I would never want all movies to be made like Wes Anderson movies.
No.
That would be insane. But I am so glad that somebody is,
Well,
because it's just such a beautiful use of the medium.
Well, and honestly, how many movies are different nowadays?
Right?
Right? Like how many like creative people are going out and doing a completely original thing that nobody else is doing, and there's no sequels, or
I think
this is
the-
not part of a genre
Honestly,
that's popular.
The thing is, what I just said, honestly, also applies to like Michael Bay. Like, I think the Transformers movies are terrible, right? But Pain and Gain was great. I do not want all movies to be made like Michael Bay, but I'm so glad that Michael Bay is making Michael Bay movies, because Pain and Gain was awesome.
It was like dumb but fun,
It was
right?
the dumbest fucking movie I've ever seen, but I love it.
Wow.
But that's Michael Bay's art film.
There you go.
Ooh, briefly, sorry, Alex, didn't Wolf of Wall Street come out this year?
No, it came out at the end of last year because we watched it on Christmas Day.
Right, cool. Okay, Alex,
But that
go
movie's
for it.
great.
Speaking of movies about movies, Jodorowsky's Dune, which is basically a documentary. Holy shit.
The movie that died so others may live.
It's movie Jesus.
It is.
Like, no, literally, this is, just briefly, Alejandro Jodorowsky, who made El Topo and The Holy Mountain and some other weird stuff.
He's a weird guy.
He's an extraordinarily weird person.
Like abstract filmmaker, I guess you'd call him.
Basically,
Experimental filmmaker slash
Like you think Alex is weird.
multimedia artist.
he's like proper weird. He assembled a team of what he called holy warriors with a huge budget to make a film adaptation of
Frank Herbert.
Frank Herbert's Dune.
Yeah. Which is weird. Like, this French patron came to him and was like, I love your work. I want to be a patron of the arts. Here's a fuck ton of money.
What do you want to do?
What do you want to do? And he's like, I want to make an adaptation of Dune. And the
like,
guy was like,
Sweet. Okay. And he's
okay.
like, never
That's
read the
weird."
book. Never read the book, but I want to do Dune. And from there, so he assembled his team and went all the way through pre-production, and in fact, like, has the entire thing storyboarded. He had like big name people attached. There, he was going to get like oh god, the names are all like
Marlon
dropping.
Brando? No, Orson Welles.
Orson Welles and
Dolly
yeah,
was going to be
Salvador
in.
Dali.
Orson
And
Welles
just,
was,
like-
of course, going to play Baron
and
Harkonnen.
he is like
Mick Jagger, I think, was going to be in
Mick
it.
Jagger was going to be
It's weird that Sting ended up in the final version.
Yeah, it is, actually.
Mick Jagger light, and the studio looked at it and was like, "Oh hell no!"
The thing is, the movie was great, but they didn't want to give him the creative control. The studio
Yeah.
had no faith in him, even though it's like, look at this is everything. We've even written down how we are going to do all the practical effects.
Yeah, the movie was ready to go, and they were like, "This is insane."
So this is
no.
So what we're talking about actually is a documentary.
Yeah, it's a documentary
about this
movie.
Yeah.
Because you can't watch the actual movie.
because it never got made.
because it's one of the most important and influential things it did was it brought H.R. Giger and Mobius together.
And
To
Dan
make-
O'Bannon.
Yeah, to make concept art for it. And this is the first time Giger and Mobius worked together, and they ended up working together a lot after
Yeah,
that.
on-
and you can look
On Alien. This,
Yeah, I was about to
among
say-
this
other
little
things.
movie that you may
Well,
have heard about.
Like they worked on a bunch of other stuff, but yeah,
Yeah.
for Alien specifically, you can look. There are scenes in Alien that you can look at the concept art for Jodorowsky's Dune and go,
It's there.
"Oh, it's the same thing."
Because they were like, I'm not letting this go to waste.
Dune, like Jodorowsky's Dune never got made, but its DNA is everywhere.
Yeah, it's actually
and it
it's
actually goes through it.
the
It's like
most
all these-
influential science fiction film that never existed.
Exactly. It's like without this, like, because those people were in close proximity and, came to know each other and work together, they ended up working together on a lot of our most, like, favorite movies. I think it's like, this sort of paved the way for, like I said, Alien, probably stuff like Blade Runner, fucking Indiana Jones, that sort of stuff. It's just like, it's very, very influential, and,
So you got to see this documentary.
Yeah, it's
one of my
really good.
one of my favorite stories for it is how they got Orson Welles on board.
Oh, God.
Is the French patron heard that he was in France, and through connections in the restaurant industry found out where he was eating that night and went up and introduced himself and like at his table and sat down with him and tried to convince him to come on board. And
He was like, "No."
he was like, no, I'm not going to, as whatever. And then the guy was like, do you like what you're eating tonight? And he was like, yes, absolutely. It's delicious. He's like, I will hire this chef. You will eat like this every day that you're on set.
He's like,
And Orson Welles was
Okay.
like, sounds good.
and for Dolly, he was like, okay, we got to put a flaming giraffe in this movie.
And Jodorowsky's like, okay.
Okay.
Done.
Not even kidding.
I'll find a way.
Dolly is insane. He is so
Very
nuts.
strange man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Well, was.
it,
Well, yeah.
yeah.
Last
So-
thing,
Oh, yeah.
speaking of things that are totally nuts.
Yeah, this is weird.
This will wrap up.
I'm glad you're talking about this.
I went to an amazing concert this year.
Oh, boy.
And if you were around me after I went, then you will have already heard about this. But I will
Was
just
it a based concert?
It was the basest concert.
This is where that comes from, by the way.
Yeah.
Internet.
Yeah, internet. You get the term based from a rapper from Oakland by the name of Lil B.
Lil B.
Lil B.
Lil
And
B.
I have to fully admit, I have a problem with lyrics in music. Not that I dislike them, but I have a very hard time understanding words if they're not said clearly. That's why I tend to listen to a lot of instrumental music, because I don't get a lot from the words anyhow. I hear more of the melody than I hear the lyrics.
I think I find that too. But
Luckily.
But rap, I have a really hard time following along. Sometimes people are just like, "Oh my god, these words, these rhymes are so," and I have to sit there and I have to concentrate or like look up a lyric sheet to understand them. So I'm not a huge raps person, but my best friend Adam loves Lil B, and Lil B was coming to Vancouver, and he likes music as much as I do. So he was like, "Kathleen, you need to come to this concert with me. It's so important. I really like it's like a thing that we have to do." And I was like, "Oh, it's right before Desert Bus." He's like, "I'm gonna buy your ticket so you can go with us, Kathleen." And I was like, "Okay, this is a personal thing I have to do."
As a fan of the rap and the hippity hop, as a rap fan,
Yeah, before you start getting excited,
myself, Lil B is not very good.
no.
I would go further than that. I would say that his rap is bad. I think he's actually pretty awful at.
That's not the point.
But you can't argue with output.
Oh yeah,
Dude releases like
he's got like a
hundreds
6,000
of
song
songs.
discography. Like
They all sound very similar.
not the point. Okay, the point. So I'm like, whatever. But I love music in general, and I love new things, and I love people watching, and I love understanding things. So I went in there basically like a researcher,
like a anthropologist,
like a sociologist.
Okay,
really.
Cool.
So anyhow, I go and I'm like excited to go, and we go there, and I don't really know. I go in completely cold because I don't know what to expect, and I'm not gonna listen. Like I've tried to listen to Lil B, and I'm like, I don't get it, but that's fine, whatever. But I go in, and then I realize during the first song, I'm like, holy shit, the appeal of this guy is he's fucking hilarious. Like he was wearing...
He's just so positive.
Okay, hold on. He was wearing like a really tight, like pink t-shirt designed for a small lady. And he was talking about his shoes and like, hey, everybody, please stop touching my shoes. These are very important. They're very valuable. And they're the shittiest shoes in the world, which is like anti-rap culture, right?
Yeah.
Anti like the shoes as object of desire and like signifiers of like socioeconomic power. Like his shoes are awful. I would have replaced them, and I'm cheap. Like they're gross. And then like when he tried to get this pink shirt off because he was like getting hot, he was like, and he was like really struggling with it. I'm sorry, my shirt's really tight, and it was really funny. And so there's the laughing at Lil B kind of thing, but you know, and then he's got a song called Ellen DeGeneres, and like seriously, like it's way better seen, but if you want to listen to it online, you can look it up, and like literally just like Ellen DeGeneres, Ellen DeGeneres. And so anyhow, but interspersed with all this stuff that's kind of like funny and ridiculous and over the top, and it, honestly, a very well-informed critique of hip-hop culture, right? Like there's a lot of like self-aware humor in there. Lil B is very smart and also really weird. There are these incredibly positive, wonderful songs, and the people who buy into this like 100% buy into it. Like he's got a song called No Black Person is Ugly, and it's just a beautiful message, and then he did this part in the concert where he's like, everybody put your heads down and close your eyes and take a deep breath and appreciate everything, and like everybody's like really into this as like almost a spiritual, beautiful moment. So I of course am standing with my arms crossed watching what's going on because I do not express vulnerability to anything.
You're not part of the cult of B.
I'm not a joiner. I've never been a joiner. I've been a watcher. But even Adam was like, God damn it, put your head down, and like forced my head down and made me appreciate the moment, which just made me uncomfortable. But I appreciate Adam for doing it. Anyhow.
So he calls himself the based god.
Okay, so anyhow, hold on, I'm getting that. And I was like, this is beautiful. And I'm like, and it's so subversive that he's got this cult of like super dedicated young followers. He's come up from the internet. Like he's completely unknown to most people. Like even like people in our own age group are like, who the F is Lil B? And like those who get it, super get it. And he's like doing this wonderful, like positively preaching thing. And it was so beautiful. And I was like, wow. And you know, I could and then he's also got a song where he's like, I'm the based god, you must protect the based god with your life if necessary, or something like that. And I was just like, holy shit, is this what it was like to go watch Jesus? But it's true, right? He's this weird guy preaching this weird, inaccessible message that's mostly about truth and love, and yet it seems kind of distrustful from like the mainstream like perspective.
Jesus was probably also a really shitty rapper.
Anyhow, if you have the chance, go see Lil B in concert. Even if
going cold.
It doesn't matter. Even if you're like, what the fuck is this? Like, just if you stay there long enough, it will all wash over you and it will become part of the experience. One of the best shows I've ever seen in my life, hands down, and I've seen a lot of concerts.
All right.
To define, by the way, he calls himself the based god, and it's like, what does based mean? And it's one of those rap things where it's like, well, based just means based, man.
No, based means positivity.
I know.
It's good.
I know, but it's... Anyway, that...
What I got out of it was that you were, like, based, like, grounded, you know, like in, like a... Based. God damn it.
It can mean whatever you want it to mean. That's the thing. It just wanted you to know that this is where that comes from. People are using it all over the internet now.
Yeah, it's Lil B.
Guy.
Yeah, go look up Lil B. It may not be your cup of tea, but go see him in concert if you can.
It's not mine.
Well,
it's not mine. I tried to listen to it afterwards to recapture the magic, and I'm like, nope, not there.
You're like, Graham, you got to listen to this song. And I was like, okay. And I went and listened. Really, and then Kathleen was like, oh, you know, in the sober light of day.
Yeah. Well, like, you know, when you're not in a room full of people who are super hyped up to be there, and he's extremely charismatic. Like, he may not be like the best. he may not be super technically skilled, but he's a fantastic performer, right? And so like what you take that away and the music lacks a little something. However, you may still be able to get into it. Or if you're Lindsay, who lives with Adam, Lil B, because she's heard a lot of Lil B and she's not like into it.
Welp.
Lil B.
Oh, and
Based.
really recently we learned about a Japanese group called Charisma.com, and they're funny, and you should listen to them. Not funny, they're good.
They're good.
They're good. It's electronic hip hop, and it's really, really good. And I can't understand it because it's Japanese. But
Apparently,
it's
the
really good.
lyrics are really clever and like kind of dark and stuff
I've heard
like that.
Yeah. Well, I can't imagine how they would be dark, judging by the fact that they both look like they would fucking cut you.
Well, they both like the one on like the DJ looks like she would cut you and then like make a shirt out of your skin possibly.
Oh yeah.
And the singer, the MC, looks more like she would plot your downfall but never be able to be directly connected to it. Like
What I'm saying is I dig their style.
Yeah, they're great.
So if you have a moment here at the end, have you guys been reading any webcomics this year?
None more than usual.
Because I don't remember when they kicked off, but this is strip search related, but I started reading The Last Halloween and Sufficiently Remarkable when they started happening. And holy shit, I love both those strips so much.
I also like reading. I love reading Ojoy Sex Toy because it's so funny.
It's so good.
And
It's so good.
Tavis's strip Tenko King is really sweet.
I've actually not read his strip.
It's really good.
But yeah, I completely forgot about Ojoy Sex Toy, which I do read when it comes out. I think it's so good. It's funny and informative and cute and sexy and just the color palette. God.
Oh, it's Eric. Now I also want to throw in. I love both those strips. I actually want to throw in a word for Camp We Don't Want You, which I admit, as a connoisseur of comics, got off to a slow start. It's really good. Go read it. Now that there's a bit of a backlog, check it out.
There's a cat in every strip.
Yes.
Well,
Go and find
not
it.
the first couple. There's a strip within the first dozen
That doesn't have a cat.
where a box of cats explodes.
Oh, right. And
basically,
then for the
not
rest
explodes,
of the
and cats
comic.
run off everywhere. And from that comic onwards,
There are cats.
Every single strip has a
There's-
cat somewhere.
have you seen the Camp We Don't Want You hoodies?
No.
So
Does it have a cat hidden in it?
it's just a simple heather gray hoodie with the Camp We Don't Want You logo on the breast, and that's it. But on the back, under the hood, in the middle of the shoulders, like where if you don't have the hood up, you don't see anything, is a little cat going like a little scared looking cat, and then you flip the hood up, and it's like meow.
That's
It's really really clever.
No, the strip's good.
Let's see. Wait. Sadly, John Allison ended Bad Machinery this year. I think that I have opinions on this, but I think that he maybe pulled the plug on that strip too soon, because what he would do is between these big long 100-page story arcs, he would run Bobbins, which is basically the characters from the strip he used to do, getting up to wacky hijinks. And of course, when you see old friends return, you're so excited about it. And the public response to seeing, everybody's old favorite characters was always so strong that I think he felt that people didn't like Bad Machinery as much as they did. So he's gone back to drawing Bobbins, which I mean is good because I love his artwork and I love the universe and it's all like in the same universe. But I am sad to see him pack in the towel for those characters because I think they were really throw in the towel, pack it in, whatever. I'm sad to see him not doing that strip anymore because maybe this is borne out by view numbers, but I think that he thought that people did not like it as much as they did.
Yeah, 2014, yo.
It was a good year.
I actually enjoyed it. I know it was crappy
was a
for some
good
people, but
year.
I had a lot of fun. I mean, a big part of it was the working on all the sketches that you, the listener at home, allowed us to do by supporting our Kickstarter, and it was really, really great. And we had a really fun time. I mean, I hope so. Mm-hmm. I got no other jobs lined up.
I got ideas.
I got a job for you right here.
I got ideas.
Actually, I guess by the time this episode goes up, the Patreon will have launched. So you should go check that out.
Mystery box.
Patreon.com.
I actually came up with an idea last night for the mystery box that I really want to film.
Sweet.
So
perfect.
Spoilers.
Delicious.
Spoilers.
And that's it. There will, I believe, that we have a yet further 2014 retrospective episode
with Ian
Ian and Jeremy.
And Jer, yeah.
And that was forthcoming.
I just want to say,
I really hope it's just them talking shit about us.
I hope so too. If you liked any of the stuff that we recommended, you're like, hey, I'm going to check out charisma.com because Graham said they were cool. Let us know on Twitter if you liked it, or if you didn't like it. If you listened to that television album and you're like, oh God, it was just white people noodling around for 20 minutes at a time, and I'm like, yes.
That guy,
white people noodling around.
That guy's at Alex Stacey on Twitter. That's Steacy.
Yeah, I have no end of trouble with that.
Kathleen _LRR, and I'm Graham _LRR. Talk to us on the twits. All right.
Bye, everybody.
We're going to take off. Bye, everybody.